Hoosier Nation, it's a great Sunday in the land of Bloomington, Indiana, and around the world if you wear cream and crimson. The big news that came out in the middle of this afternoon is that five-star forward Liam McNeeley committed to the Indiana Hoosiers. He chose IU over Kansas and a multitude of other high major teams. The Montverde pipeline continues. Matt and I will dive into McNeeley's commitment, what it means for the Hoosiers. He's not going to start playing basketball for Indiana until 2024, but IU fans are pumped to see him announce that he's going to play for Mike Woodson and the Hoosiers. We're going to dive into commitment, what it means down the road. Could a couple of other players follow in the class of 24? And so much more here on episode 310 of the Hoosier Sound, where we are the official podcast of Indiana HQ. We're recording this edition of the Hoosier Sound on Sunday, October 15th, 2023, where I am your host, Nathan Krishnan. Here with me today is my normal co-host, Matt Lukens. Matt, Liam McNeeley is someone that was close to the heart of Mike Woodson and the Indiana coaching staff. And today they got the great news. What are your initial reactions, and what should Hoosier fans expect out of the newest commit to this program?
A little bit of relief, I would say, is my first reaction because, I have had Ant Wright, Trilly Donovan, and about 7 other different people DMing me being like, are you ready for him to commit to Kansas? Not actually being real. They're just making fun of me. But still putting that thought in my head. This has been a secret, or a well-known secret, for a while now. I think for almost a month and a half, 2 months, that Liam was leaning towards IU. But obviously until it happens, there's a little bit of doubt in your mind. So very happy that Liam is now in Crimson and Cream. He's a wonderful addition. And honestly, he is if you're going to, as far as when you go get 5 stars, right, there's 5 stars that have, a aura about them, right? There's certain 5 stars that you look at, they're either it's made by the media attention around them, or it's
hype,
or they
substance.
or they have a social media following, or there's just there's reasons why a guy might be just slightly elevated above his peers. Now McNeeley doesn't have that, but what he does have is he has an extremely awesome personality. 1, 2, he is a leader, and he's got connects. So he's a 5-star that's well liked by other 5 stars. And that's where I'm saying he's one of those. If you go and get a 5-star that has that it talent, right? One of the top 5 guys, other guys want to go play with him. There's only one other kind of 5-star people want to play with, and that's the guy that can be friends with everybody, has a certain leadership quality, and that's Liam. So if you're going to start building a superstar class, a top 5 class with multiple 5 stars, this is the kind of guy you go and secure a commit from first, because he's going to be sitting there every day at practice talking to his best friend,
building those relationships,
trying to get guys that go to Montverde, not only just in the 2024 class, but in the 2025 and the 2026 class, that are in there being like, hey, go take a look for yourself. Here's why I like it, right? He's that kind of guy that's going to only improve relationships at a school in Montverde, that we already have a strong relationship with. I was talking about his best friend. I'm talking about Derek Queen. Again, that is not, he called Derek Queen and Boogie Flan, that is, 2 other 5 stars, called them out in his commitment, told them to commit to the Hoosiers. Of course, we are expecting some Boogie Flan news this week. That is the whispers on the behind the scenes. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. Whispers can, in fact, just be lies. But I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you see something this week from Boogie Flan, maybe even tomorrow. But yeah, so McNeeley, As a Hoosier, I'm excited. Don't talk to me about football. I'm excited.
Why would you say the F word on here? Look, all in all, yeah, Liam McNeeley, a massive commitment for this Indiana program. The 15th ranked prospect in the class of 2024, according to 24/7 Sports. He is a no doubt about it 5-star recruit. The third one in 3 consecutive seasons for Mike Woodson out of high school. Jalen Hood-Schifino and Mackenzie Mbako, a Hoosier, and we're all excited to watch as early as Friday during Hoosier Hysteria, and then the 2 exhibition games coming up. McNeeley had a lot of positive things to say about Woodson and a few others during his recruitment airing on ESPN and ESPN Plus. His comment on Mike Woodson: Coach Woodson has been recruiting me for a really long time. His interest in me never wavered. McNeeley did very much shout out Derek Queen and Boogie Fland. We need Derek Queen to become a Hoosier, and he very much said he would reach out to Boogie Fland as well. Fland down to Alabama and Kentucky, as well as Indiana there. So excited to see how that shapes up in the 2024 class. McNeeley also said the Indiana fans are crazy. I know some of them are watching right now, and he indicated that, hey, even in some of his travel games, he sees Indiana fans in the crowd. So for those of you who are stalking Montverde, it
Good
paid
job.
off.
Keep going, guys.
It paid off. There's so much to digest here. If you look at some of the evaluations related to Liam McNeeley, if you had to describe his game in one word, it would be shooter. If you look at Adam Finkelstein, he said McNeeley, who's a 6'7" small forward. We'll see if he plays that position at Indiana or if Mike Woodson uses him as a bit of a chess piece. McNeeley is one of the best combinations of skill and basketball acumen in the national class. He came up the ranks known as a shooter, and for good reason. He has clean mechanics, a compact release, and a shot of over 40% from behind the three-point line, but he's far more versatile than just a specialist. He's particularly adept at coming off of screens, making instinctual reads, and then attacking defenders while they're on the move. That can mean movement threes, but can also mean curls, dribble penetration, and an ability to get downhill. McNeeley has a high natural feel for the game and is a good passer who can also facilitate for others around him. If you look at Brandon Jenkins, another recruiting analyst at 24/7 Sports, he says McNeeley is as versatile as they come in the 2024 class. He has the handle and feel to run an offense. And with his textbook shooting stroke, he has the capability to be a knockdown three-point shooter. Jenkins believes the best area of his game is his passing, with an above-average vision and a willingness to find the open man. In fact, Jenkins went so far as to say the unselfishness can be at times to a fault, but he plays the game the right way. I know those are words, though, that are music to the ears of IU fans who want a team player, and then also at the same time someone who can shoot and take over when the game asks for it. And I get humility vibes with Liam McNeeley. He's not someone who carries himself arrogantly in a stubborn fashion, not someone who's too big for his britches. Definitely someone who feels like he's a team player, and you certainly watch him do that, carry that out on Montverde, where he has a number of other high-level players alongside him, including our friend Derek Queen, who I'm sure has seen his social media blow up here over the past few hours.
Yep.
Call him up. That's the big thing with Liam McNeeley. Call him. It's a telephone. If you see him showcasing that telephone gesture, that's his deal. That's his shtick. Whenever he bangs in a three, that's what he likes to use there. It's a little hand gesture. You saw a lot of Indiana players, a lot of Indiana fans react, and that's why. It's because that's his bit. Matt, this is a big deal for Mike Woodson, Kenya Hunter, Brian Walsh, Jordan Hulls, the entire staff. Yasir Roseman can't forget him as well. A lot of times when we watch the games, we say, man, it would be nice to have a little bit more experience on that bench. A couple of guys maybe with a little bit more college head coaching experience. But you see their strength really kick in here. It has made a big splash over the last few seasons with Tamar Bates, with Jalen Hood-Schifino, Malik Reneau, Kalel Ware out of the portal, Peyton Sparks, and now you see it with our good friend here, Liam McNeeley. This staff continues to do great things. What's your big takeaway as far as the head coach, his recruiting ability, and then the assistants? It seems like what they're doing, their strategy, it's working well.
I was told Mike Woodson couldn't recruit. That he was going to have a hard time recruiting coming from the NBA, that he's not going to connect with young players. And everything we've heard is quite the opposite. In fact, been proven the opposite since he stepped foot on campus. So thanks, Mike. Love you, Coach Woodson. So yeah, I mean, Woodson's fine. He's one of the top recruiters now, honestly. And you're looking at this IU program and projecting it forward. I mean, we're only going to continue getting more 5-stars. Shout out DeAndre Swift, by the way, just getting me fantasy points and the Eagles scoring a touchdown. So if I looked a little bit distracted there, I was watching the Eagles game while this is going on. But no, yeah, I mean, look, IU's in a good spot nationally recruiting wise. You're going and grabbing guys who are from Texas and go to high school in Florida, and the only really connected they have is that they happen to go to the same high school as a former 5-star recruit. That means your train is rolling. Yes. Right. I mean, you're not picking up guys in your backyard. I think it should be, in theory, easier to go get a guy from Kokomo than it is to go get a guy from Richardson, Texas to come play for IU. But here we are. Liam McNeeley is a Hoosier. I hopefully Boogie Fland will be a Hoosier this week. And then sometime down the road when Derek Queen feels like it's right for him that he is a Hoosier, and then that will be a top 3, maybe even top 2, maybe even top 1 class that we're talking about coming in. But I like what you pointed out about Liam. Yep. Right. I think, he's a shooter first, by the way. Go look at his highlights from the game he played last night. He was playing last night. He plays again tonight at 9 p.m. if you guys want to check him out on ESPN. He's playing last night. He scored like 25 points. I think he had like 18 of that in the first half, I'm pretty sure. Was lights out from 3. Was talking to to Jeremy Fears' brother. So Jeremy Fears is a 5-star recruit in the class of 2025, I believe. Yeah, I think Fears is and then his brother goes to Michigan State as a freshman. He's also a former 4-star, 5-star-ish recruit. He's on Michigan State roster. He was talking a little junk to the team, being like, "Man, you guys suck. I have more points than your entire team. Me solo." So I love that. I love a little bit of feistiness, a little bit of fire in the game, of course. But I mean, he's gonna go play for a head coach that also got a little bit of fire, right? Mike Woodson's not afraid to back. He's not gonna back down. He's not afraid of anybody. And when you were talking about the buildup, last thing I'll say is, like, when you're talking about the buildup of the staff, right? Yeah. You're looking at staff and you're like, yeah, we want more college head coaching experience. IU could go and do that, and that's fine. I think recruiting is more important for building up the program right now. And in fact, I would not be surprised. I not that I have any intel behind this. There's no behind the scenes intel on this. I would not be surprised if IU goes and gets a couple analysts in this offseason. If they go and get this top 1 class, right? Top 2 class, they're going to get some guys that are former college coaches to come sit behind and help work with these guys. So, how we had Thad Matta before he was promoted to head of the basketball program at Butler, right? At Butler, right? We had him as like director of basketball operations, right? I wouldn't be surprised if IU goes and gets a guy
Tom Green
similar to that. Honestly, for offensive improvements, I wouldn't mind having him as an offensive analyst back at IU. Maybe I like Tom Green. Tom Green's a good guy. Tom Green's a good guy.
Create some whiplash there for IU fans. I mean, the shooter piece is going to be huge. I mean, look, it's such a boon. It's such a gift nowadays to have players who can knock down threes and not so much just knock them down, but do so in a variety of ways, right? You can come off a screen, catch and shoot. You can dribble, one dribble, step back, drain the 3 in your face, in transition, late in the shot clock. And McNeeley is someone who can do all of that. And so I think Indiana fans who have so desperately wanted a shooter over the years, you're finally going to get someone where that's a primary specialty, especially when you consider that the game, especially in the NCAA tournament, feels like one where those 3-pointers are such an easy way to get back into the game if you're down, an easy way to pull away from your opponent if you're leading. McNeeley very much is an excellent shooter in that regard, and someone that it felt like such a natural fit for him at Indiana, given what this program has meant to the 3-point shot over the years. You look at the players currently slated on Indiana's roster for the freshman season for Liam McNeeley. It's a bunch of guys who do things differently than McNeeley does. And so you can already see the fit nicely there. We'll see if Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal use their COVID year for the 24-25 season.
I'm assuming they will.
You've got Peyton Sparks, right? Different than McNeeley. You've got Caleb Banks. I can already visualize Caleb Banks slashing to the rim and then dishing to McNeeley, or vice versa, right? McNeeley pump fakes and then drops a pass down low for Banks to finish inside. And then you think about whether Malik Reneau will come back. But if he moves on to the NBA, you've got CJ Gunn, you've got Gabe Cupps, you've got Ja'Kai Newton. And so you see now a bunch of versatile players, Mike Woodson guys in that NBA mold who can do 3 or 4 different things, all working together, all synergizing together, along with McNeeley's sharp shooting abilities and unselfishness that some analysts have said perhaps goes too far at times. So all of a sudden now I can see the vision here. And by the way, Derek Queen, if he comes in, you can see that piece fitting in nicely. Boogie Fland, I love a Boogie Fland, Gabe Cupps backcourt in a year's time. And so all of a sudden now you can definitely see these things coming together. I love the fact that McNeeley gave a shout out to his family during his recruitment airing earlier this afternoon. He mentioned his great grandfather had played basketball. His grandfather played at TCU. His mother played at Rice. His uncle played at SMU and Baylor. All wonderful to see that family lineage. And then, of course, as we discussed, he called out Mike Woodson's persistence in recruiting him to Indiana. By the way, Richardson, Texas, hometown of a couple of famous celebrities, a longtime bicyclist. Lance Armstrong was born there. And then you have Jessica and Ashley Simpson, for the pop culture fans who have spent some time in Richardson, Texas as well. And so Liam McNeeley is going to, of course, bypass all of them in celebrity status.
Yes.
And I don't think there's any way we can doubt that as we're sitting here today. We're the Hoosier Sound, the official podcast of Indiana HQ. We hop on here all throughout the year. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. We're your one-stop shop for IU sports. We bring in-depth analysis and coverage for IU to as many fans as possible across a multitude of modern platforms. Hoosier Hysteria starts Friday. We'll be there. 2 exhibition games. Our on-site contributor, Charlie Mason, is going to be there for you, bringing you up to this minute, up to the second coverage. And then, of course, as basketball season continues and men's, women's, soccer, football continues too, whatever that means. All in all, plenty going on here as far as the Hoosier Sound. We have so much more to dive into as far as Liam McNeeley's commitment. But first, it's time for Who Won the Week this past week in IU sports. And we're going to just do a rapid fire tip of the cap to a bunch of different things. IU men's soccer keeps the good vibes going. IU women's soccer back into the top 25, records a win. IU volleyball knocks off Michigan in a Big Ten victory. Any Big Ten victory in volleyball is difficult. The Hoosiers swept the Wolverines, in addition to knocking off top 25 Purdue back on Wednesday. Steve Aird has this team off to one of their best starts in a handful of years. Kyle Schwarber makes the NLCS out of the Philadelphia Phillies, the former Hoosier, doing big things there.
Schwarber.
And I know we're probably missing a few as far as some major accomplishments across the table, but we always like to give a shout out to Hoosiers who are doing big things. Shout out to all of them who keep moving along in the right direction. Folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our podcast for free, all you have to do is search for the Hoosier Sound wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay up to date with all of our information by following us on Twitter at Indiana HQ and at the Hoosier Sound. If you enjoy our show, leave us a review. Tell a friend, share our links. That kind of support really helps us grow this podcast and reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself. There are so many different ways we can go here, Matt. Liam McNeeley, a 6'7" forward, sharpshooter, great passer of the basketball, commits to Indiana. One thing that stands out to me is that, Indiana is gravitating towards Montverde Academy. I know recruiting can be complex sometimes, But with Jalen Hood-Schifino, with Malik Reneau, and now with Liam McNeeley, I am a big fan of Mike Woodson simplifying this approach. Go to Montverde, establish your roots there, and go crazy. I don't see this stopping anytime soon. Do you?
No. I go look into IU's recruiting targets for the next couple of years. I'll give you a hint. They happen to also be going to Montverde.
There you go. It makes life that much easier. And then, of course, Matt, you can't ignore the benefits of NIL, and then also seeing the Big Ten expanding here. Before people forget, I mean, I know football is the king as it relates to Big Ten expansion, but Oregon, USC, and UCLA bring a lot of basketball firepower to this league. And who knows, who knows where else Indiana goes. The Big Ten goes in order to add teams. Do you think that's part of the conversation here with Mike Woodson and his staff? Look, we've got some big time programs coming in addition to ones we compete with on a daily basis. Let's load up so that we can compete for a Big Ten title with USC and with UCLA, in addition to Michigan State and Purdue and so on.
I don't think they're thinking about that at all, to be honest. If anything they're thinking about with the addition of UCLA and Oregon and the rest of that is, hey, is there an area that we can maybe attack recruiting-wise out there now that we're going to be playing games in Hollywood. Los Angeles?
We're going to get Hollywoodson, right?
Yeah, we get Los Angeles twice a year. You'll be in Oregon once. You'll be in Washington once, maybe. You would at least be in Los Angeles for one game a year, right? So you're going to be out on the West Coast. So now you can kind of go and you have an avenue of attack out there when it comes to recruiting, right? You got a little something you can sell. But yeah, I don't think they really care about who they're adding. I mean, UCLA is a great program. Sure. Blue blood, of course. Welcome them to the Big Ten with open arms, especially for basketball. That's going to be fun. UCLA at Assembly Hall. The first game that happens is going to be a sellout.
Live on Peacock, right? Live on Peacock.
Of course, it will be on Peacock, but they only that means it's a good game. They put it on
yeah, right. All right, exactly.
Because they gotta sell subscriptions. They gotta put it on Peacock. Oregon's been good. I think Dana Altman's a very underrated coach. USC's got former FGCU coach Andy
Enfield.
Yep. And they have Bronny James, who will probably only be there 1 year and somehow get drafted in the NBA, even though he probably shouldn't even be a Division I college player.
And Washington was good once upon a time.
And Washington has been good in the past, and they run a funky zone. Yeah. So they will be interesting to play against and good practice, even if they're not good. But with all that being said, no, I don't think that has anything to do with IU's recruiting, other than maybe like the having games out there piece. There's not really much that's going to change. IU was going to try and get the best prospects available regardless, because that means you are competing at a national stage and competing for a national title. Woodson is not here to resurrect the program. He's here to resurrect the program and compete for national titles, right? And so, again, when you're projecting forward, if IU gets Boogie Fland, who, by the way, everybody I have talked to rates him extremely high. I'm talking like people are talking about him being the best point guard in the class. Now, if you go look at his rating, he's down in the 20s. I am going to assume that will be bumped up as time goes on here in the senior season. He is always in Team USA camps. He's been the starting point guard for Team USA at the under 17 level, I'm pretty sure. And he's just a winner. So if IU goes and gets that guy, I am extremely excited. If IU gets Derek Queen or not, I would like IU to get Derek Queen for the storyline and for having that top 5 class and for Liam and his best friend to be on campus together and having this whole recruiting momentum thing would be awesome. Don't think it's the end of the world if he doesn't end up committing, because I think Malik Reneau will be back next year anyways in that spot. So it matters a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, the IU's shown the ability to go get top tier transfer portal guys anyways, and then you're adding in the ability to play with Liam McNeeley and maybe even Boogie Fland, and then maybe even Derek Queen. They're going to be able to hit on some guys in the portal. So I'm not really worried about that. Next year's roster is looking much better than this year's roster already as things stand. Because now you got a shooter. And then if you're projecting this program forward, I think I've said that statement about 3 times, and I've said multiple times on the show. You can go back to previous shows and look at that. I use title shot window is 25. I've said this a lot, and I will continue to say this because I think Liam McNeeley will more than likely be a one and done. It's hard to project right now where he will end up in the draft, given that it's the beginning of his senior season in high school, and there's a lot that can go on in about a year.
Number 1,
3 quarters. But he projects the one and done. Again, Boogie Fland, everybody rates him very highly within the recruiting circles. He's probably going to be a first round pick. The one that interests me is Derek Queen. IU is projecting he could either be a first round pick or not. I think that he'll probably be on the fence there. The other 2 kind of fit positions the NBA like to draft younger, whereas they like to see more from bigs before they draft them. And if anything, Trace Jackson Davis has proven that maybe a couple extra years in college is good for you. You get that kind of game experience and the ball in your hands, and you show up and you're able to and ready to play from day one in an NBA organization like the Warriors, right? So when I'm looking at Queen, I'm not quite sure he's going to be one and done. He's got a lot of tools. He can play on the perimeter a bit. But again, that position is so loaded for the NBA draft in the upcoming year. It might be benefit him staying an extra year if he does go to college, regardless of whether it's Indiana or not. And so you look at that guy on the roster for 25. You're looking at in-state recruit Jalen Harrelson. Hopefully he's a guy that IU can kind of lock down, top 5 guy in 25. You go look at 2025s at Montverde. You take your pick of guys that IU wants to attack there. But the main point of this talk is that it will be junior year Gabe Cupps.
There you go.
That is the main selling point. He's a guy that's going to play a significant amount more than people really expect this year, especially since he's the only backup point guard to Xavier Johnson, who will be coming back from an injury. And by the way, Gabe Cupps will play his way onto the court anyways. I don't doubt that. He'll then probably start next year and then be the star of the show his junior year. Exactly. That's how things are projecting right now. So take a look at how Gabe Cupps is playing this year, and that's going to tell you what kind of position Indiana is going to be in. Again, could they compete for a national title next year with Liam? Very well could. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot of roster fluidity left to happen. So it's hard to project right now, but if Liam is a great starting point towards IU jumping from the tier of teams that, like right now, I think IU's in tier 2. Like they're in the tier of teams that I think should comfortably make the tournament this year, have some promising talent, can compete with the upper guys, but can also have games where they kind of
lose to Florida Gulf Coast in the opener.
Right, exactly. They're going to struggle because they're not a perfect squad. The tier 1 squads this year to me are Michigan State, Purdue out of the Big 10. You've got Kansas out of the Big 12.
We'll see Kentucky.
Kentucky people are talking Duke. Up. Well, I think Duke, once everybody gets healthy, is tier 1. I think they're probably the favorites to me. As far as college basketball goes. And then Gonzaga. UCLA maybe and Gonzaga out on the West Coast, they're kind of teetering on the tier 1s, but there's not a lot of them. And I think IU goes out and gets the guys they want to next year, and then goes and hits maybe a big fish in the transfer portal and gets Trey Galloway back and gets who they want back Cupps from this roster.
Developed, Newton, Banks,
next
another
year's
step
roster
forward.
Is significantly improved to this year's, and Indiana will be talking about basketball from the minute this season ends until when that season. I mean, basically, Mike Woodson has taken this program, and the Liam McNeeley signing is this. He has taken the program from occasionally getting 5-star recruits to now consistently he's gotten a 5-star recruit in his first summer. So in his first class, he got Tamar Bates. Then he got Jalen Hood-Schifino. And you could Malik Reneau was on the cusp of being there. But we'll just go with one. Jalen Hood-Schifino. The next year he goes out and he gets who?
Mackenzie Mbako.
Mackenzie Mbako, right? So
and
now,
Khalil Ware. I mean,
and Khalil Ware, if
portal,
you
not
talk
high
about
school
transfer
player.
portal, right? So we'll say 3 still. Liam McNeeley is the 4th in 3 years, right? Because Tamar Bates, he got the minute he stepped on campus, right? Yeah. Which was leading in, this summer, right? Like, so leading in. So he's gotten 4 or 5 stars in 3 years, is looking to get his 5th. You could say 6 if you add Khalil Ware as a transfer, which is, I believe, more than Tom Crean had in his entirety at IU.
It's incredible, the type of progress Mike Woodson and his staff had made since they started at Indiana in March of 2021. By the way, folks, if you'd like, you can find Liam McNeeley on Twitter at Liam McNeeley 30. You can also find him on Instagram, where he's just Liam McNeeley. He's got 13,000 followers on Instagram. Gabe Cups is 349,000. So you can help McNeeley cut into that deficit just a little bit. So much reaction across the Indiana world as it relates to the commitment of Liam McNeeley. You saw Dane Fife even give a tip of the cap to Indiana's addition of Liam McNeeley, saying this is quite an important addition for Indiana basketball. You saw Trey Galloway as well as Gabe Cups give a tip of the cap to McNeeley on Twitter and saying, hey, all right, let's go. It's time. And the telephone emojis flying there. Kenya Hunter, Jordan Hulse, Brian Walsh, and Mike Woodson all reacting. I would very much head over to Adam Howard's Twitter account, Adam Howard 0. He's part of the admin staff at Indiana basketball. He tweeted a video of Mike Woodson shooting a pool shot behind the back, dropping a ball into a corner pocket. A real life video of Mike Woodson's dexterity with the pool stick. So all in all, positive vibes around IU basketball, IU men's basketball here. Absolutely. With Hoosier Hysteria on Friday, and then 2 exhibition games before the opener against Florida Gulf Coast. We're going to give you some hypothetical comparisons, have any final thoughts as far as Liam McNeeley here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a social media shout out, where we're going to shout out our channels here. Make sure you like, follow us, retweet, subscribe to our stuff if you have not already. You can find us at Indiana HQ and at the Hoosier Sound on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. On Instagram, Matt, we're not Indiana HQ, but what are we?
Indiana.HQ.
And you can find us there. We go to all sorts of events to cover them in person. And that's going to continue right along here with Hoosier Hysteria on Friday and the Rutgers game on Saturday. Matt, there is a lot of debate, a lot of discussion around exactly who Liam McNeeley plays like, the kind of mold that he follows. When you look back on either Hoosiers past or present, collegiate players that play like McNeeley, or even guys in the NBA that share a similar type of playing style to Liam McNeeley, is there anyone that stands out to you that's not an apples to apples comparison, but someone that you say, all right, McNeeley's type of play kind of reminds me of this guy?
Oh God. Honestly,
Michael Jordan. No, just kidding.
No. yeah, Michael Jordan. No. I don't think he really reminds me of anyone I've seen recently. Because again, he's 6'8". I mean, the easy cop-out answer would be like Gordon Hayward.
Okay.
That would be the easy cop-out answer, but he's not Gordon Hayward, and you're just saying that because he's a 6'6" forward that can shoot the ball.
But that's a large part of his game.
Yeah, but he does so much more than that. And also Gordon Hayward does so much more than that. And they're two very different players.
Sure.
To me, is kind of akin to like, some IU fans are gonna just hate this when I say this. Absolutely hate this. But oh my God, what's his name? I just had it in my brain. And if the guy that went to Michigan State and then left after 1 year and now is on the Lakers as a wing.
Oh, Max Christie.
Yeah. He reminds me a little bit of Max Christie.
Interesting.
But he can do more than Max Christie. And I'm not saying he's going to disappear in college like Max Christie did. Because Max Christie had a really tough year at Michigan State and he was not good. But there's a little bit of Max Christie in Liam McNeeley. McNeeley's taller than him. I think McNeeley can do a little bit more with out of like a playmaking wise than he can. And he's a better rebounder. And honestly, he's a better defender. But McNeeley also doesn't have the measurables. He's not a super gifted athlete. He's not got like the crazy wingspan you expect out of a 6'8" forward or 6'6" forward. So defensively, it's going to be a lot of growing pains, I think, for him. As a 5-star showing up, in Big Ten basketball. But offensively, I think he's going to get it from minute one. I mean, the way they play at Montverde, the people he plays with, he knows how to play a role. And I think that's what you're starting to understand with a lot of these Montverde guys when they come in. They're superstars. But they're superstars that have played a role for 4 years. Like growing up in that Montverde system, especially, they've been there for a significant amount of time. They're playing with top guys from every single class up and down the list, right? So, when they're freshmen, they're playing with top guys that are seniors, juniors, and sophomores. When they're seniors, they're playing with guys that are top juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And in between, they're trying to learn where they lie in the pecking order, right? So, they're on Montverde's B team as a freshman and sophomore, then they get bumped up as a junior. Now you're playing with seniors and against seniors of other teams. There's a lot of stuff to be learned there that they're already coming in with prerequisite knowledge that not the normal kid that goes and plays in Indiana high school basketball and then plays AAU in the summer really gets a whole lot of out of maybe the AAU program that they play with, right? But then they're still playing with the same 20 sort of guys that are all able to play. There's top level talent. You can only play 2 states over or whatever it is for AAU, depending on which circuit they play in. So, the elite guys are playing with guys from Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Kentucky, and Indiana. You're looking at Mocam Elite out of Missouri. They're playing with guys out of Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Alabama, whoever touches Missouri. I'm not looking at a map right now, but you know what I'm saying? Those kind of guys that play regular high school basketball and then play AAU, they're only playing with a certain bunch. Montverde's getting guys from California, Texas, Florida, New York. They'll go get a guy from Russia if they want to, right? Like they're going to go get their pick of guys that they want to help develop and get them onto a college basketball floor. And so from their freshman year at Montverde to their senior year at Montverde, they're playing with upwards of like 100 different basketball players, all different styles, all different skill levels, all different honestly, all different levels of stardom, right? You're going from guys like McNeeley's a top 15 guys. There's top 5 guys playing on that. There's a top 1 guy playing with Cooper Flagg, right? And Liam McNeeley's not going to come in with an ego. No, bro. He's playing with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg's going to get like 20-something shots a night at Montverde, right? They're going to give him the ball whenever he wants because he's the number 1 recruit regardless of class right now. And so Liam's going to be able to come in and he's going to be able to contribute from game 1. And that's the thing with Max Christie that I think was the problem when he came to Michigan State because he wanted to be the star of the show. But Michigan State's always got a couple guys there that are competing for that spot. And he wasn't ready to play or didn't really fully understand at the time how to be a role player and how to be a valuable teammate in game. I don't know what he was like off the court. I'm not saying he was terrible or anything as far as teammate wise, but in game wise, it was very obvious he would disappear for games and would have terrible games. And freshmen do that anyways. But when you're a freshman stepping into a role that you're not used to playing, that's even more exaggerated. So I think Liam McNeeley is going to be great from minute 1, from day 1, on the court and off the court at IU. He's a fantastic addition to the program. And I'm extremely excited to see if he can't go get a couple more stars to play with here in the next couple weeks and months.
And that's such a good point that you made because a lot of the 5 stars that we see, they've been the superstar, they've been the alpha for 4 years on the team that they're on, and then all of a sudden when they go to Kentucky or when they go to Michigan State or Duke or wherever, Indiana, you're asked to now all of a sudden sit back and play a complementary role. And that's a lot easier said than done. Playing a facilitator team first style of basketball is a skill. It's not something you can just pick up overnight. And I totally understand what you're saying as far as Hood-Schifino or Reneau or McNeeley, you go watch Montverde tonight at 9 o'clock, you'll see it. There are certain games where guys take over as the number one, and McNeeley will have to sit back. And there'll be other games where McNeeley has to take over and score 30 points. And so, you play, and that's how college basketball is. And so, of course, you would like to have all the talented players in the world, but again, playing team first basketball, finding your niche, that's a skill. That's not something you just pick up overnight. I love all the vibes here across IU land. The social media activity is off the chains right now. It's funny when I look at different NBA players, past and present. For some reason, the one that stuck out to me that reminded me a little bit of McNeely's style of play was Peja Stojakovic. And obviously, it's a very different time and era where Stojakovic played, but of course his son Andre now is going to join the college ranks as a highly rated high school player. Peja was someone who did a little bit of all of it. He of course was one of the best 3-point shooters in NBA history when he was on Sacramento, but he was also someone who chipped in on the glass. He was someone who was able to move the basketball to a degree as well, and find his niche on those Sacramento teams. Would definitely recommend YouTubing him if that's not someone whose name you've recognized here right off the top of your head. When I think about Indiana players, as of recent, no one stands out to me. I don't think McNeeley is similar to Jerome Hunter or Mackenzie Mbako or Colin Hartman or Miller Kopp. I don't see any comparisons here. McNeeley is going to be a unique player. He's going to be his own one of one as far as Indiana basketball is concerned. And this is exactly the kind of player we're expecting Mike Woodson to bring in more frequently once he took over from Archie Miller. No one's going to criticize Mike Woodson for choosing to keep and put on the full court press to keep Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson in the building. That makes all the sense in the world. You, of course, love the addition of Xavier Johnson. He's someone I'm very much excited to watch this upcoming season. But now all of a sudden you see frequent pushing of Mike Woodson, persistence from Mike Woodson on getting these versatile players, can run up and down the floor, hit a three, dunk on your face, move the basketball. And that's the kind of vibe that you get from McNeeley. So very much excited to see that there. I'm curious to hear what you all have to think as far as comparisons. If you think of anyone that reminds you, maybe a Hoosier from the past, definitely drop them in our mentions here. We'll give you a retweet if we like what you have to say. So all good news as far as IU basketball is concerned, Matt. Perhaps we have another big commitment video. It's crazy in the day and age of the transfer portal to say that Indiana's got a commitment, and then all of a sudden now we have to wait over a year for him to play college basketball. I feel like that's more of the exception than the rule here. Matt, what do you say to the people who say, look, 5 stars don't mean anything? All of a sudden, you see teams like Kentucky and Duke load up on them. They don't have that sustained success in the NCAA tournament. Indiana's had Romeo Langford come through the building, Yogi Ferrell, Trace Jackson Davis, Eric Gordon. What has it resulted in? What do you say to some of the critics, the naysayers who are like, look, 5 stars or whatever, it doesn't matter until you make a Final Four at Indiana?
I would say I'm halfway between that statement. I'm in the lands between. I think recruiting momentum, building the program up on a national level, getting excitement back into a program from under 18, like high schoolers looking up to guys, right, that have played at IU. That's important, right? And getting IU back into the thoughts and locker room conversations of high schoolers is important, because IU hasn't been there for a while, because honestly we've sucked for like the last 20 years, right? And outside of the 2013 teams, they really haven't done much to propel IU back into the minds of younger folks. And so Mike Woodson's doing that by going and getting these guys and having the NBA casuals wanting to watch college basketball games so they can see who the team is projected to draft in the next year, right? And then watching it and being like, wow, this is fun, and I like Assembly Hall and da-da-da. Yeah, that's important. But so is winning games, right? Like, let's be honest. We're here to win basketball games. Exactly. And Mike Woodson understands this, because every time you ask him what he's here to do, he's like, I'm here to win national championships. I am not here to do anything else but win national championships. Exactly. He's doing other things in the process to help him eventually reach that goal,
Right.
which are all great. But I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to win a national championship. That's going to be, you asked Liam McNeeley what his goal was, and it's going to win a national championship at IU. And I welcome him at trying to go at Cooper Flag next year
Yes,
in order to
certainly.
do that.
Please do so. I agree. I can see an argument here. I would say my stance to this is there are a lot of different ways to make the Final Four and win the national championship in college basketball. And one of those ways is to load up on extremely highly talented players. By the way, we talk about, Florida Atlantic made the Final Four and they didn't have any 5 stars. Well, when Kansas won the national title in 2022, you know that they did. Gonzaga, why are they so dominant on a sustained level? Well, they bring in the best high school players in the country, in addition to adding up on the transfer portal. You look back over the years, as of late, North Carolina, Duke making the Final Four, UCLA having their success, Villanova frequently listed among these Final Four teams. Some of those Syracuse teams that made a run at the end of Boeheim's tenure. I mean, this is how it is. Michigan State's going to be in the conversation this year for a national championship because of how they've loaded up from a recruiting standpoint, in addition to bringing back some veteran players. This, to me, is an answer where there are multiple different ways to get the job done. And so if you're Florida Atlantic and you can't really land a 5-star player, well, there are ways for you to succeed. That's why college basketball, to me, is better than college football is. It's because there are different ways to win. There are different ways to become successful. And Florida Atlantic and San Diego State do it one way. Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Duke do it differently. And Indiana tries to find their niche in order to get back to the Final Four for the first time since 2002. So I'm looking forward to seeing Indiana get the job done. If this fails, well, that's why coaches change every so often, right? Every 5-6 years, so there you go. So that's the anticipation here. That's the expectation. Mike Woodson said it himself. We deserve a seat at the table for the 5-star recruits, and we're here to win Big Ten championships and national championships. So that's Mike Woodson's belief. If he doesn't believe, no one else is going to. So it starts at the top there. So we wind up here on the Sunday afternoon into evening. Matt, any final thoughts here? Anything we may have missed as it relates to Liam McNeeley's commitment to the Indiana Hoosiers?
I don't think we've missed anything. I would say this. I'm going to stress this to people. This is a day to celebrate after watching football do their thing yesterday. Let's enjoy
their
positive.
Thing. Yeah.
Let's enjoy positive news for the time being. I'm very excited for Hoosier Hysteria this upcoming weekend. Really feels like it's basketball season already.
Sure.
Even though we're still like 3 weeks away from games. But I'm ready. I'm fully prepared for IU to be good this year. I'm also ready for my feelings to be hurt and let down. But we'll see kind of how things go. But I mean, the future is bright at IU. And look, this is only just getting started, right? Like I said, like Boogie Fland, maybe next week, hopefully, Copium. And then, Derek Queen maybe on the horizon, or we'll see where else the staff goes with that. Either way, even if it's just Liam, I still think this is a great class and a great addition to Indiana basketball.
No, it's wonderful. And I think this is what we're seeing more and more now. Like, my main thing here is Mike Woodson has placed a massive emphasis on the small forward position since taking over at Indiana. Miller Kopp was one of his high priority transfers, but then you saw him continue a major commitment, a major emphasis on Mackenzie Mbako. And now we're talking about Liam McNeeley. And it doesn't have to be the same kind of player, but Mike Woodson's made it very clear with his strategy here that, okay, if you want guards, fine. If you want bigs, fine. But if you don't have wings, you have no shot as far as college basketball is concerned. And it's gone and it's manifested itself too in Ja'Kai Newton's recruitment and Caleb Banks' recruitment. Mike Woodson wants guys, even if they're not the number one player in the country, he wants guys that can come in, defend 1 through 5, switch on the perimeter, help out when necessary, become forces in transition. You don't spend time in the NBA and then ignore that aspect of the basketball team. And so what I've seen here is Mike Woodson's made an emphasis on that specific position, that type of player, And you're seeing it, especially here with the commitment of Liam McNeeley. But folks, that about wraps it up for our 310th show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your support. To hear more fantastic episodes like the one you heard today, be sure to follow us at Indiana HQ and at the Hoosier Sound to make sure you don't miss any in the future. You can also go to our website, indianahq.com, to find it all in one place. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we will see you next time.
Peace and love. Go Hoosiers.